Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of the Last Night's Game podcast. I'm your host, Amy Butchon Siegfried, and I am really excited to have Scott join us today to talk all about the NFL draft, which basically used to be boardrooms with dry erase boards, probably chalkboards, and fax machines. And now it has turned into essentially the football version of Coachella. So, Scott, thank you for joining me here today to talk all about the world of sports and the world of the NFL draft and why we really have a lot to learn from this.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, we're here to talk about Coachella of football, if you will. It's become a traveling circus of money making for the NFL. They used to have it in one location. Now they move it to a different city every year to give fan bases, a chance to experience the excitement and the chaos and sometimes boredom of how long it takes to make picks. And a lot of these franchises, this is the most exciting part of their season. So I hope
Absolutely.
hope springs eternal with the NFL draft.
We're serving up hope here. And you're
Mhm.
right. The NFL has really been the first one to turn this into this like just three-ring circus, a money juggernaut. I mean, captivating a TV audience. They've brought in all the clips, all the things that they need to make that time because it does take a significant amount of time sometimes to make a pick because you're jockeying, you're trading, you're doing all these things behind the scenes that we don't see.
And we'll never know a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that don't happen. And so you have a few minutes to get the face of your franchise that hopefully takes you to a Super Bowl. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made quickly and a lot of moving parts behind the scenes. And I think we spoke of like the politics of it as well with the smoke screens and the fake rumors and releasing of information about players that can hurt their draft stock to make them fall. I know we'll get into it a little bit further, but there's so much more that goes on than just handing it up.
It's basically a telenovela behind the scenes. It's not as
Yes.
simple as I get this guy, and I might say maybe our first pick might be the easiest one on the list. So give
Yeah.
us that go-to conversation starter with football fans.
Quarterback storylines.
Now, quarterbacks have, typically are like the diamonds of the draft, if you will,
Yes.
because people know who they are, first of all.
Mhm.
But we haven't always had really top-heavy quarterbacks, but this year our number 1 draft pick, Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, he's expected to go number 1.
Yes. And this is the easiest pick of the draft for the Las Vegas Raiders. You get the number one pick by being the worst team. So
Mhm.
the Raiders have kind of been a dumpster fire for quite a while, and they've needed a solid quarterback. And everything we've seen from Fernando Mendoza, as far as skill and personality, and his interviews are incredible. If you've never watched them, they're amazing. So this seems like the easiest pick the Raiders will ever make because typically in the past they have screwed up most of them.
And then the Raiders have done something. So Fernando Mendoza comes across as like good old boy, like, I love my mama. He
Mhm.
doesn't use bad word. I think he used a bad word during the wrap up of the national championship, which was
Yes.
hilarious because he just comes across as like this wholesome guy. And so he'll be rolling into Vegas. But they've
Mhm.
also then brought in Kirk Cousins, who you might recognize from the quarterback show if you ever watched that.
Yes.
And Kirk is also sort of a doesn't curse. His wife, like he buys all his clothes from Gap type of guy and has, 700 children. And so it's be interesting to have the 2 of them at the helm in Las Vegas.
Yes, and the Raiders, as a franchise, they have this persona of like rebels and pirates, Raiders. If it says it in the name, and now we've got like the two most wholesome guys in the league in the quarterback room with Mendoza, who's the national champion, Heisman, and then of course, like you said, we'll give him one pass for saying a curse word after winning a national
He's allowed
championship
to do that.
based on his journey. So
He was freaking excited, Scott.
yes, he was. He was very excited. So we've got, Kirk Cousins. If you watch him on the show, he wears khakis. He gets his hair cut at great clips. You've seen the commercials. As wholesome as you can get. And fun fact, he has made the most. He's also the smartest when it comes to business. He's made the most guaranteed money out of any quarterback in the history of the NFL
Oh,
with
interesting.
with this Raiders contract. So, I mean, most likely he would start the year, and then Mendoza, for his own sake and health, would maybe come in later in the year
Okay,
and
that's
play. So it's more like an insurance policy in a way.
well, we talked about this in one of our previous podcasts. and maybe you can just touch on it quickly here about the transition from being a college quarterback to being an NFL quarterback and how that is so different. And
Mhm.
it's not just like, hey, you just transitioned to a similar job. It's like it's a whole different rodeo.
Yeah, it's a completely different job. It has become a little bit more similar with the ability now they can call in the plays in the headset. So now they're getting like NFL, they have the coach calling the play into their headset, where in the past college they could not, but now they do. But a lot of these college quarterbacks don't go under center, which means they're behind the lineman taking the ball from them. A lot of them are in the shotgun, which means they're hiking the ball back to them. So there's just so many different things, terminology, speed, where the hash marks are on the field. Everything's just pretty much different.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and from a 10,000-foot view of a fan who just likes the sport, I wouldn't really think anything of it. So you see some of these guys come in their first year and do really well, but that's not a standard operating to do that.
No, it's extremely hard to do. There's been a few guys we've seen that have kind of jumped the shark and, come in guns blazing, but it is more rare that someone is going to come in and do really well.
And struggle. So the interesting I want to mention before we stop talking about Fernando and move
Mhm.
on to other people is the number 1 draft pick, he's not going to be at the draft.
He has not. He has committed to be with his family, and if you were able to follow any of the storylines throughout Indiana's season, you know that his mother has MS and she's unable to, travel a lot. Thankfully, the championship game was in Miami, so she was able to attend that game, but based on her health and his just he wants to be around his family.
And he can because
I would probably do the same. I'm sure you would.
Mhm.
It's more important to be with family than I'm sure the NFL offered him a lot of money to go and be in Pittsburgh for the draft, but some things are just more important.
Well, and it's really interesting because he is this, like, shoe-in number 1, he doesn't
Mhm.
have to put on this pretense of, like, "I'm gonna show up and parade around," and, you know, we talked about it on the podcast for the national championship, but I had a friend who was on a flight with his parents, and, like,
Oh, wow.
dad picks up mom and, like, carries her in, and, like, she can't walk, she's in a wheelchair, and so, like, it's really a family situation, and I love that, he's able to make that choice and they're able to celebrate in the comfort of their own home. So that'll be really interesting to see. And that's a life-changing moment for him, but it's also what a game changer for an opportunity for people who want to bring it back from the showboat that it is.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure the Raiders are certainly they're okay with it. Do whatever you need to do.
Right. I'm exactly. Save our team, whatever you need to do.
Yes, whatever.
Now, I don't want to dive into too many names because our audience doesn't really know a lot of names, nor do we really care that much if I'm being honest about myself. But like, are we looking at a lot of quarterbacks this year? Are we looking at a lot of running backs? Like, what sort of is the structure and what does that draft class look like?
The draft, it tends to go through flows. Like one year it'll be a quarterback heavy, one year it'll be a running back, a wide receiver. It goes in flows on which positions are most popular. This year is like the least quarterback heavy we've ever seen. So
Oh, interesting.
2024, there was 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round, which was a record at the time. Last year, there was only 2. And this year, we have Mendoza and then maybe possibly Ty Simpson from Alabama in the first round. So this is like the least sexy pick of the quarterback heavy draft we've had in a while.
Interesting.
It's going to be a lot of defense, a lot of linemen, a lot of, positions that in reality are going to make your team much better than just a quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the ratings go because, like quarterbacks are the sexy pick. They're the big names.
Right. They're the names people know. Now,
Mhm.
you're talking about first round. So the first round of the draft has what, 30 picks, one for each team?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
hypothetically,
in
yes, there's a
theory,
pick.
the
Yeah.
concept is one for each team, I should say.
Yes. Teams do have draft picks. They can trade them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they will have that pick. But yes, there's a pick for every team in the first round. And the Super Bowl winner goes last
That makes
unless
sense,
unless they trade.
unless they're
So the
trading. Okay.
Seahawks, I think they have the least amount of draft picks out of anyone in this draft.
So that's interesting. Okay, so we're watching it's the cup game, right? Like there's a lot of trading, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yes.
So that'll be it's always interesting to watch behind the scenes. Now, if you don't have a team to cheer for during this draft over the course of the 4 days, who are you cheering for?
Draft fashion,
The
by
draft
far the best part, really.
It really is. It's so interesting, and we've kind of talked about this. This is for some of these players, but not for Ronaldo and maybe Ty Simpson, but for a lot of these players, this is the first time the public has seen them out on a red carpet, seen them in person, gets a chance to learn who they are. Because unless
Mhm.
you're a fan of their collegiate team, you may not have any idea who they are, and you're as a fan of maybe their hopefully soon to be NFL team, you
Mhm.
wanna get to know these athletes. So this gives them a chance to be seen right up front and really make a statement.
Without their helmets on for the first time. Unlike
Right.
NBA players or a baseball player, you see their face all the time. You know what they look like. With football players, linemen, a lot of these guys, you have no idea.
That's a
So
good
this is their
point.
chance to like burst onto the national scene in an awesome suit or some cool jewelry or anything.
Yeah, and last year we saw a lot of, like, bold suits, pinks, purples,
Yes.
unique textures, different jewelry or ways to represent their family and their hometown. I mean, high-end designers out there, but last year we received on the red carpet, a lovely pair of Swarovski crystal Crocs. That was a nice addition to the red carpet.
I mean, nothing says high fashion like crystal croc.
Crystal
So
Crocs.
I would probably say if I was going to go to the draft, I would probably rock some crystal crocs.
No, you would not. Your mother would kill you. Yeah. Mom would be like, "I don't know who that kid is. I've got no idea." But, I mean, you see a lot of people with, like, great things inside their suit jackets, and so they've really started that trend of making the draft once again, the NFL making it a whole scene, but making draft fashion. We saw the WNBA draft last week, and that was like an Oscars red carpet. They all looked so phenomenal, and so it's really, once again, fun for people to see them and for them to have a chance to not be your hair pulled back and a chance to, like, own who not being in a uniform and all that kind of stuff. So it's really fun to see something to relate to and something to check out if you're really not into the football.
Absolutely, and fashion transcends age gaps and everything. So a lot of like you said, the guys will have in the insider suit jacket, tributes like pictures to coaches and family members that have helped them along the way. So that's always kind of a cool situation to see kind of how they pay tribute to everyone that helped them get to this point to be on the stage to be drafted in the first round.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I should say, let's you just mentioned first round. I know we kind of talked about this,
Mhm.
but so the people who are in attendance, the draft picks that are in attendance are basically the potential first round. The NFL probably invites them, gets the names from different teams. I don't know how they do all that, but essentially those people are likely to be drafted in the first round. And then from then on out, they're all at home. There's not really any cameras on them. It's not the same pomp and circumstance. Someone's still coming to the podium on the stage and reading their name, but it's not the pomp and circumstance. That's the first round, the first night. That's all that.
Yes, I mean, if you're invited to the draft, you're more likely than not going to be drafted in the first round, or else it's a very long night to sit there with cameras in your face for a couple hours.
I
And
mean, we've seen it happen.
we've seen some very famous players slide in the draft, and then they just keep zooming in on them every pick, and it's miserable. Like an Aaron Rodgers who dropped who was probably going to be a top pick, and then dropped like the 20s,
I feel like
and they're
Shador
just sitting
Sanders
there.
wasn't there,
Remember he was in
but they kept
the
having
Sanders
cameras on him.
Sanders compound. Yeah, so he knew he likely had information that he was not going to go in the first round, so he was not going to show up to sit there and just have cameras zoom in on you for
Yeah,
multiple hours as you just every pick you
it's
see
not
kind of
good.
just like their heart get ripped out a little bit. And
Yeah.
that's embarrassing, and it's also you're losing out on a lot of money every pick, so it's not necessarily something I'd want to do. Sit there.
Can you talk to me about the money? I mean, I know it really just depends on who they are and what they do, but, like,
Mhm.
we have there's big money involved in all of this.
There is big money. It did not used to be a situation where the money was slotted where you were picked. The team kind of would be able to negotiate deals and give you what they thought. But because rookies were getting so much money coming in, NFLPA made them put a cap. So where you're picked is how much money you get.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's a defined dollar
Yes.
amount.
Yeah. One gets this, two gets this. But from there, it's negotiations, how much is guaranteed, not guaranteed. So, but where you're picked is how much you get,
And when you
at
say
least in the
guaranteed,
first round. Yeah.
that is truly, like, whether or not you play, you walk away with this much money.
Yes. So that way you want as much money as you can get guaranteed because football is every play's a car crash. Any play could be the end. So you never know. So
Yep.
you want that guaranteed money, like a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's got kind of the best agent in the world. that's what he's kind of revolutionized how contracts are negotiated.
Interesting.
It's kind of wild given that, his career and what he's done, that he's by far the most guaranteed money in history.
That is so interesting. Now, if I'm a non-sports fan, but I wanna fire up an NFL fan this week, what am I gonna talk about?
NFL draft as a full blown like city takeover.
Yeah, this is one thing. So if you don't talk football, one of the best ways to talk about the draft, you could talk about travel because
Yeah.
the draft, as Scott said earlier, has switched locations throughout the past couple of years. This year, they're in Pittsburgh, which was the first time they're hosting since 1908, and it's kind of put across across the city of Pittsburgh.
Yes, and it's a celebration of a lot of these cities have rich football history. Last year was Green Bay, so this year's
Hmm.
Pittsburgh, and that it just has such a storied history of the black and yellow, throughout history of football. There really is no like bigger, you know, brand and name in the NFL with 6 Super Bowls and a passionate fan base. No matter what the
Hmm.
weather is, no matter how good the team is, they're going to show up.
Right. The weather is a notable. At least this time, people won't have to be in battery charged parkas and pants like
Hopefully,
you've had to be in January. So it is
yes.
Pittsburgh. You never know.
Yes. So hopefully the weather's good. There's no rain because they're expecting probably they've been averaging like 500,000
That's
people to come into
crazy.
town. And you think about how small Green Bay is last year, like that's wild. So Pittsburgh's expecting a huge influx, and every local business is going to benefit from this. They're expecting like 120 million to like 210 million in economic impact for the city, which is
That-
massive as well.
That's really odd. It's cool to see because it was always in New York and it was never this showcase.
Yeah.
So, or not always, but it had been in New York historically. And so it's really cool to see this showcase. And one of the cool things that you might see too is if you're watching the draft, the local city tends to get to influence some of the later people who come up and announce the draft
Mhm.
pick. So Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, does the first and maybe even this. Does he do the second round?
I believe so.
No,
So
I
the
don't think so.
first
I think he
round,
just does the
only the
first.
first round will be the first night.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he
Yes.
only does the first night. Be prepared
Yes.
that the fans there will boo him. That's just a tradition. They boo him every single time
Mhm.
he walks out with a pick. Just is what it is. Don't feel bad for him. He makes a
Yes.
lot of money.
Roger Goodell
And
hates every team.
he's embraced it. Like he's embraced it.
Yes, which is not
But
as much fun. I wish he was kind of more bitter and
yeah, he was more bitter about it.
angry.
But
Yes.
later on in the second round and beyond, you'll see Make-A-Wish children, you'll see local celebrities from
Yes.
Pittsburgh, you'll see the teams will have different people who will come up, and so it's really neat that you'll get to see different picks, and so the city of Pittsburgh will clearly have an influence on who gets up there on the stage, and may it be the person who invented the Primanti Brothers guy, who invented the sandwich with the fries in it. That would be
Yes. And
amazing.
that's like the Pittsburgh staple. When you go, you have to go to Primanti Brothers, kind of just like a local hotspot with their sandwiches are really ridiculous. So I hope you bring your antacids and your all your stomach medicine
Digestive
because you're
enzymes
eating meat, fries, bread, all of the
all in
above,
one.
all in one. Yes, I went 2 years ago to the last game of the season for Steelers Bengals when it was freezing, kind of you mentioned, and we went. I think I had maybe it was like fish, a fried fish sandwich
Oh,
with fries,
bold
and
bold
it's
choice.
you better plan the rest of your day. Just leave it wide open if you go, but it's definitely worth it.
I mean, you've gotta do it. Sometimes you make those I interesting choices just so, you can learn to feel like you're alive.
Yes, you'll find out quickly,
Well,
and
you'll
I'm
walk
sure
it
that
off as
there will be lots of features during the draft on people going there and
yeah.
waiting in line and sitting down and eating it.
Well, and you're gonna be walking, it's a festival environment, there's big screens, there's lots of things happening, so you'll burn it off, it's fine.
Yeah, hopefully.
Now, one thing we didn't talk about, and I'm gonna give you the capacity to say anything we didn't cover, but the one thing we didn't talk about, which is always a key information in the draft, is Mr. Irrelevant.
Mhm.
And Mr. Irrelevant is the last pick of the NFL draft who has typically been irrelevant, very unlikely to make an
Yes.
NFL roster because just because they're drafted doesn't mean they make an NFL roster. So Brock Purdy, who's the quarterback for the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers, was a Mr. Irrelevant and has set all these records and is the starting quarterback for Mr. Irrelevant, but was like the first one to score a touchdown. I mean, all these things. And so Mr. Irrelevant is still not super relevant, but there's a chance.
There's always a chance. There's a light at the end of the tunnel if you're Mr. Relevant, and it's Brock Purdy.
Yep.
Like he's taken it to a whole new level. Like you said, he was the first to ever even throw a touchdown in the NFL in all the years of Mr. Relevant. The later you get drafted, the less likely you probably are to make the team. And if you're the last pick, you're probably not going to get much playing time. And
Right.
he essentially saved like the 49ers franchise with that pick because they traded up and traded a lot of picks for other quarterbacks that did not pan out. So he's their savior in a way.
Yeah. And I mean, we talk about guys like Tom Brady who did not have a high draft pick, but there are those anomalies, but it doesn't tend to work out that way.
Definitely Tom Brady, sixth round, I think. So at that point, no one knew that he was going to be what he was going to be.
Yeah. And
And then
if you're
we've
bored,
come
go
full
look.
circle now that he's an owner with the Raiders. He's
Yeah.
taking
Oh,
Fernando Mendoza with number one pick. So there's a whole circle of football here.
maybe they can drink avocado tequila together.
We'll see. Maybe Fernando might even cuss after some avocado tequila.
Is there anything we didn't cover that you want to talk about before we sign off?
Smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
And maybe one other point after that, real quick. But smoke and mirrors. This is all politics. This is all spreading rumors. If you're drafting number 10 and you want a guy, maybe you're going to release some damning information about him, his personality, or what he's been doing. Maybe he goes to the bar too much in hopes that he would drop down. They're ruthless. They don't care. They'll damage someone's reputation just to maybe possibly get that pick to drop, or just in general damages players' draft stock right before the draft. We've seen guys with bongs and masks dropped right before the draft videos. Now it would be fine because it's much more legal, but back then that ruined that player's draft stock, and he dropped possibly to the team that released it.
Convenient.
There's so much going on behind the scenes, and it's to quote Dwight from The Office, it's politics, baby.
Yep. No, no kidding.
So don't believe anything you hear within days leading up or minutes leading up to the draft.
Okay. I like that. And do you have anything else? You had one more thing you said?
I have one more thing.
Okay.
He's unlikely to be there for the first round, but Jennings Dunker from Iowa, he's a lineman. He's got a red mullet. He's got an amazing personality. He's going to be talked about a lot. Probably if he doesn't go in the first round, the second or third round, they're definitely going to have cameras on his home wherever he is. He might be hunting, who knows, fishing, doing something. He's got a red mullet and he's personality. So if he doesn't go in the first round, that's your player to watch Friday or Saturday. And it's
Okay.
glorious.
And maybe he'll be eating a Pop-Tart?
Pop-Tart, possibly, because we will have the Pop-Tart bowl has expanded, and now they sent one of their Pop-Tarts out to be sacrificed during the draft.
I did read in the notes that this was a protein Pop-Tart. Like, we're all just sprinkling in some protein into our lives via
Pop-Tarts, they're
Pop-Tart.
becoming unstoppable. Now they have protein. What can't they do?
If they become gluten-free and organic, it's all going downhill.
If you tell yourself it's gluten-free and organic.
Moderation.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all the insights into all things NFL draft. And if sports comes up this week, you don't need to know about every pick or any pick, to be quite honest. Just say, wait, isn't the NFL draft basically red carpet or Coachella now? And you're in the conversation. And this is the sports news you'll need to spill. Thanks for joining us this week.